I love the way the First Gen Lounge makes me feel.
Because it creates a space where I belong.
Where we're able to create community.
The fact that it's a community.
It's a safe place.
It also gives me a place to understand different perspectives.
The stories of these individuals prescribe transformational perspective.
I receive encouragement, enlightenment, empowerment.
And also serve as a catalyst to just keep going.
Where we're able to be our true selves.
I'm allowed to be an unapologetic first gen.
And above all else, tell our story.
And every episode is unique.
I love it.
I'm your host, Dr. Eve, and I'd like to welcome you to the First Gen Lounge. Hey, good morning and great day. Always a joy to be with you. And if you are new, what's up with you? Thank you for dropping in. I hope that you come back again and again. Bars. Listen, that's what we do around here. But I have to tell y'all, I sat with the idea for today's show for a few days before even trying to articulate my thoughts and my feelings. Because I was really like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do with this one? Because it was one of those, kind of moments for me when the show idea came up. But you know that it tickles my fancy to get lost in my thoughts. So again, this one certainly did. What's even funnier to me though, is I told y'all recently with the last show that this one ended up being bumped back. So essentially they gave me more time to ponder. So at this point, I guess I can say I've had more than enough time to get it together. But as life would have it, I was actually talking to my brother the other day, and he said something that once he was finished, I was like, damn. And now I see for real why the show needed to be pushed back, because there was an element to what I've continued to learn about as I've explored this topic that has allowed for me to gain perspective to fully arrive at this moment where I feel like I could give you something that will be worth the while. So that's where we at right now. So I would even say, let this be a reminder for you that sometimes when things aren't working out as quickly as you'd hope for them to, but something is like just being delayed, that it's just not time for it, and that is okay. Well, that being said, let's go ahead and hop into it. So I've mentioned to you several times, right, to trust yourself on this show. Trust yourself. And as I was working, again, on this particular session, I found myself thinking, foundationally, what is trust? It's like we know what trust is because we learn it over the course of our lives. But I can't tell you that I've ever really looked at the definition of trust. So I did. What I found is that trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of something or someone. I'm gonna run that back. Trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Okay. So then what is self-trust? Because I was so convinced that they were different. And what I found was that they're a little different. Where self-trust is about a firm reliance on the integrity of yourself. What I noticed between both of the definitions that I, came across was the use of the word firm. So I thought, let me look at what firm means. Because again, we know what firm means, but like definitionally, what does firm mean? To be solid, unlikely change, strongly felt, to make something solid or resilient. Okay. So I want you to keep these things, these definitions in the back of your mind for a minute. I think for the most part, we as a people want to be trusted because I realize trust is foundational for a lot of the things we do. Hell, I'm gonna even go on to say that trust is foundational for all that we do. If we want to be for real about it, because if you think about being in a relationship, what is a relationship without trust? I mean, what is a relationship without trust? Like, duh, right? We even say that. If you think about getting a job, they want trusted employees. If you think about getting credit, they want to be able to trust that you got good credit so they can get their money back. If it's traveling, passports, to be able to trust you to go to other countries. When you go out to eat, it's trusting that your waiter's going to deliver a good hot meal or cold meal, wherever you maybe eat salad. But we just have this trust is embedded in everything, and all the things that we probably don't even pay attention to regularly because it's just a natural thing. And it's so effortless because it's so familiar. But going back to the definition, it's about reliability. Why do you stick with some of your favorite brands? Because you know, like, and trust those brands, right? Why do we enjoy Bath and Body Works or Apple or Jason's Deli, you know, where I used to work when I was in high school? Shout out to Jason's Deli. Can y'all sponsor a show for me? But just thinking about, we go to these places and do these things over and over again because there's trust. How many times do you get in your car and just drive? You don't think about, oh, can I trust my car today? Like, I know there's gas, there's air in my tires, there's oil, you know, in my engine, and you get in it and you go. You put your seatbelt on, I hope you put your seatbelt on, and you go. So trust can be so effortless because, again, consistently doing things, which makes those things reliable, but over time, right? So now the question again, do you trust yourself? What I realized recently is that we can trust ourselves, but not fully. It's not something that I think a lot of people are willing to admit or run and tell folks either. Like, how does it even look to say, I don't trust myself, or I kind of trust myself? Because how can you expect for people to trust you if you're saying you don't trust yourself? Of course, it don't make sense. But the truth is that you could probably look at your own life and see that there are areas where you're like, you know, I'm uncertain about it. Maybe I don't trust it. But then you like ask yourself questions like, why? And it wasn't until recently when I had actually presented the question, like, do you trust yourself, to one of my BFFs, right? And they paused to think about it. Now, granted, I wasn't even thinking like this was going to be one of those things that, you know, you need to think about. Because of course, you ask them, do you trust yourself? And people, oh yeah, I trust myself, right? But of course, that was what made this really exciting. And again, what led to the show, the fact that, hey, let me think about this for a second. That's a good question. Do I trust myself? Because what it made me realize through our interactions is that trusting ourselves can actually come with layers. It was one of those questions like, again, doesn't everybody know this? This is easy, but no, it comes with layers because we can trust ourselves in some areas of our lives, but not all. What trusting oneself really comes down to is confidence, integrity, and responsibility. And I've been able to actually pinpoint areas in my life, past and present, you know, to be for real with you, that have been in the shadows because I felt like I didn't trust myself. Now, to be clear, like I just said, you know, a moment ago, it wasn't about not being able to be trusted at all. It was trusting myself and lacking confidence in these areas because I realized I may have done some things and have done some things now where the outcomes may not have been favorable. And that caused me to question my decision making and made me feel like, well, maybe I can't trust myself to do said thing. And that's real as it's gonna get. Which brings me to the point. You have got to be careful about saying that you don't trust yourself simply because you are worried about an unfavorable outcomes of whatever that decision may be. So here I had been even beating myself up because something didn't work out, and it made me feel like I couldn't trust myself simply because the outcome wasn't what I had hoped for. And we've got to be mindful that we say, I trust myself, I do this thing, it didn't work, I don't trust myself. No, you still trust yourself because you did the thing that you said that you were going to do. Now, unfortunately, it may not have gone the way that you wanted it to go, but you knew what you were doing when you did it, right? And you trusted yourself to make the decision in the first place. So don't be discouraged and to think that you don't make the decisions or that you don't trust yourself on account of that. And that's something I had to check myself on. So I was like, well, dang, I guess I do trust myself after all, right? I may not know what's going to happen on the other side of this, but let me not let that take away from me knowing that I know what I know about what I know. Just like that, right? I mean, here's an example. Maybe you decide that you no longer want to be on a certain job. Well, you can't be scared about your current supervisor not supporting your decision or that you won't find another job, because you're getting to the point of no longer wanting to be there meant that you are completely aware of your needs and taking the step to do what's necessary to make sure that you're good. So it's more important to focus on, again, doing what is best for you, right? Then who's gonna be mad. So think about that outcome versus the external factors, because self-trust is internal. And I think that, external things in some situations, we can give too much credit for who we become or how we're navigating the world and life, right? But self-trust is self for a reason. Trust, and even in the definitions, are defined by, again, someone is something, whereas self-trust said yourself, literally in the definition. So consider that you can trust other things, but when it comes to self-trust, it's about you. Boom. Now think about business. Maybe there's a part of your business that you decide that you no longer want to keep this particular project or thing going on. And if you've clearly identified that this thing ain't working and you've looked at your data, then go ahead and let that shit go. You can't be worried about your business failing completely based on this one thing that you've already decided or determined ain't it. You also can't hold on to the just in case something changes, again, if it ain't it. Now, if it comes back up, cross that bridge if and when you get there. But right now, what you have to trust is that you're doing what's absolute best in this moment for the outcome that you need right now. And you know what that looks like for you, right? Tell y'all from personal experience, if you ain't never learned to trust yourself before, run a business. Because a business is going to show you who the hell you are. I am totally convinced of that. And I'm not saying other things can't, but business decisions, how fast you have to make it sometimes, but how much you have to process and so quickly to go left or right that'll take your business up or down. Listen, running a business, being an entrepreneur, you gonna learn to trust yourself one way or another. That's what I'm gonna say. But again, thinking about trusting yourself, it's constantly, it's that practice, is doing it over and over again, and knowing that, like, hey, until something else happens, here's where I am, and I'll make another decision when I have to get to that point. But in this moment, I trust that this is what needs to be done. So then the missing piece that I talked about earlier, we have to be mindful of not trusting ourselves on the account of not being affirmed by others when we make decisions. I alluded to this earlier when I mentioned the piece about deciding to leave a job and maybe your supervisor not supporting you. Here's what I want to add to it. If there are people in your life, especially in your inner circle, who are constantly rejecting you, your thoughts, your ideas, it'll really make you question yourself, and even more painfully, it may cause you to not trust yourself. With that said, you might want to check that, because in becoming who we're most supposed to be, our community and our environment really matters. Now, I'm not saying surround yourself with yes men and yes women, but I am saying that it is really important to be in a nurturing and supportive space. One thing to be at work and a supervisor shoots down an idea, or a colleague doesn't like something, or it's another thing to be in an organization and you're on a committee and, y'all can't come to an agreement about some ideas, but it's another thing in your personal space. Thing I know is that we are who we are. So we can't disconnect our personal selves from our professional selves and vice versa, because who we show up as is going to be in any space. Whatever is happening in your life, wherever it's happening at, is going to show up one way or another. So just want you to be mindful of that as you're thinking about, where you're working at or who you're hanging out with and all that stuff. Like it, they all play into each other. But again, do you trust yourself? And how can you come to trust yourself in every aspect of your life? Well, remember that I asked you earlier to keep those definitions in the back of your mind. One of the things that I can't say enough here is that you've got to know what you value. So it's fitting that a really big part actually of trust is having a firm belief in something. And then for self-trust, right, to have a firm reliance on the integrity of yourself. So bringing it all together at this very moment in life, I think that we can come to trust ourselves without a doubt if we just be willing to fully own what we believe, but more importantly, if we act like it. If you're clear about what you value, if you know what you believe about a thing, you can make decisions knowing that at that moment, it was the absolute best one that you could make because you made it based off of being informed about who you are in that moment, right? And knowing what you value in that moment and knowing what you believe in that moment. And the other thing you got to remember is the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So you have to keep building your confidence by making tough decisions that are more about affirming yourself than seeking the approval of others, right? And then you keep affirming yourself by taking action and doing things even when it may scare you, because you're saying, I trust myself enough to know that I know myself enough to know that this thing is a thing that I want to do, that I'm going to do in spite of what maybe the predicted outcome may be. If it's favorable, then great. If it's not so favorable, then I will learn. Thing that I've continued to say, and I'm generally always saying, you got to continue to get to know yourself, to solidify what you believe and how you think, to know exactly how you want to navigate the world. So having that confidence, right? Knowing the responsibility that you're taking on for yourself, knowing the integrity, your level of integrity, what that looks like for you. Say, I do trust myself and I got this shit. That's just what it boils down to. And then there's like another perspective that I would like to offer you. I want to encourage you to look at all the things that have gone wrong in your life. Yeah, gone wrong. They presented you with opportunities to grow, to evolve, but to also determine your next steps, right? To consider is that when you had to determine your next steps because something didn't go the way that you had hoped for, this gave you an opportunity to continue to build and rebuild trust with yourself as you looked ahead, because you didn't just stay stuck in whatever that thing was. You moved forward. You trusted yourself. You knew that it was going to work out. You knew it was going to be okay. You knew you'd figure it out. You may not have liked the way it felt in that moment. However, you knew that you had to keep going and you made that happen. So give yourself a pat on the back. Now, I want you to look at all the things in your life that have just gone absolutely right to this point. The reason that they have is because you trusted yourself one way or another. So be it that things are working out just fine or that they don't work out as planned, you still trust yourself in those moments and you continue to evolve in those moments and you continue to go forward. But at the end of the day, it's knowing who you are, it's knowing what you value, it's knowing what matters, right? It's knowing what you want your world to look like, and you make those decisions based on those things. So I'm gonna ask one more again. Do you trust yourself? Yes, you do. Yes, I do. Yes, we do. I continue to live as we continue to live, as we continue to make sense of life and the world around us. We will continue to trust ourselves more and more. More and more. All right. So you know me. That's all I got for you today. I appreciate you for sharing this space, for trusting me and yourself to journey together through this thing that we call life. Oh, I did that shit right there. I did that. I did that. I'm feeling proud. Y'all know I feel proud. But no, really, go forth and be well in all things. Know that I love you and always keep pressing forward. Until the next time, be good to yourself and everybody around you. I'm out. Peace.